98 days until I turn 32 and I'm still not where I want to be, obviously. Welcome back to my channel. If you're brand new here, I am on a journey to radically change my life in the next 100 days, but we're counting down. So today is day 98. Now, what am I changing? What am I measuring? What am I taking stock of? Well, that is what we're here to do today. See, I am committed that because my life isn't where I want it to be, nor does it feel aligned at where it is, that I have to actively participate enough to change it. So we're doing today's episode to track where I currently am. First things first, my body is not where I want it to be. I am not at the cardio level I'd like. I'm definitely not at the stretching ability that I'd like. And so I want to be able to shift that. I want to feel good in my body. But here's the funny thing. The only reason why I don't feel good in my body is because I don't like the way that it looks in clothes. Catch me naked, I'm happy as a clam. But whenever I put on any kind of attire, obviously this is athleisure, it's not doing anything, but pretty much every outfit that I have doesn't leave me feeling confident in my body. And so I want to radically change that over the next 98 days now. And what I'm doing to do that is Pilates, Breathwork, EFT, so I'm changing my mindset, changing my nervous system, changing the way that I move, but I'm also committed to eating. Now, what you might be thinking is, Steph, you didn't get those thighs from starving yourself. And what I would say is, yes, I did. I walk a shit ton, so I do a lot of movement as it is, but I often forget to eat so that my body is constantly in this like fearful mode of, well, when are we going to eat again? But every time I actively eat protein in the morning, I actively eat a bigger lunch, and I eat a light dinner, my body starts to trim down, and you will be able to see it pretty rapidly in my face. And so this is the check-in point, okay? I'm currently wearing a size large. These are Costco pants, believe it or not, and a large top, but I've also stretched this out, okay? I got this from Amazon. My intention is, in 98 days, when I put on athleisure, I will be able to look at my body without posing, without trying to build my booty up in a weird way, that I feel good in clothes. So that is one of the first things that I want to see change in the next 98 days. But one of the other things is that I have been working on this pivot in my business forever. And truth be told, I haven't really been working on it. There's been this weird freeze state that I've been in about whether or not I want to pursue coaching the way that I have been, if I want to shift all the way over to one-on-one coaching, if I want to step away from coaching entirely, if I want to go back into corporate. I'm doing all of these things and I'm not quite sure which is the right one. So in these 98 days, the intention is there's going to be endless opportunities for that to either be resolved or be resolved. So I'm giving myself some intentionality around clarity, okay? But also, it's worth mentioning that in this next 98 days, I've also listed my apartment up for lease transfer. So I do have the intention of not only changing my life in terms of what my body's like, what my business is, I've already initiated the journey of changing where my life even takes place. So there's going to be lots of change that I already know is going to be happening, that I can already feel is happening. But the intention of this challenge is really to say, if I show up to my life and I fully participate in it, there is no way that I can do, as Robin Sharma says, live the same day for 75 years and call that life. This is the intention, is that I'm going to live differently every single day. Some days I'm going to do Pilates, some days I'm going to do yoga. Today's probably a yoga day because I'm feeling really stiff. But the intention is that there is intention there. I think over the last couple of years, I have really lived a very surrender, let the universe give me what the universe wants to give me kind of vibe. And that's been great. I've gotten cool experiences out of that, but I think I want a little bit more deliberacy in my everyday life. So anyways, welcome to day 98. It is noon, almost noon. It's not quite noon. And I've got a couple things going on today. So I'm going to do my best to bring you along on the ride so you can see what it looks like and how uncomfortable it is and the messiness that pivoting your entire life actually is. And if there's one mantra that I think is gonna really carry us through these next 98 days, is that the pivot isn't pretty. Okay, there's gonna be moments you're gonna see me uncomfortable and fucking pissed off. And I think that is the most of service thing that I can do for you, because we often see people when they're already at the finish line. We don't see them grunt and gruel because we don't like the fact that shit's not always perfectly packaged. So be prepared for that, okay? Okay, come with me for the rest of the day. So right now I am on a call with the Legends in the Making, which is a podcast-based community of women and some men who just want to be around other big thinkers. And if you have not joined this community, I will include my affiliate link in the description below. These calls are not something that's regularly scheduled, but when we get them, they're super amazing. Right now, I'm just being able to hear what people are getting out of the community, what they're getting from the lessons that Andrea teaches us. And honestly, I highly recommend you join us. Don't mind the wind that you might hear in the background, but I'm currently on my afternoon walk with Roxy. I did not do my EFT this morning. I decided to do it while on the walk with her. I think sometimes when we think about becoming the best version of ourselves, we default to rigidity and structure rather than letting the structure be fluid for what is needed. So for example, for the last 100 days, I have done EFT in the morning along with my magical morning practice that I learned from Gala Darling, which is basically speaking my gratitudes and my desires for the day and my desires for the future into a transcriber app. But, I mean, it's more complicated than that. But anyways, so usually I do that in the morning on my walks with Roxy, but this morning felt different. It felt, okay, I'm going to take a completely different walk than I usually take with Roxy, and we did. And we sat in the grass, and it was beautiful, but I didn't feel like it was time to do my practices at all. I was like, oh, this is bizarre, okay. So, came home, started on work, and I could feel that my energy was starting to deplete. And I was like, okay, I really need to go take care of my energy. I really need to go do my practices. I published a new podcast episode. I sent out an email. And I was like, okay, actually, I need to step away. So now it's like 3:30 in the afternoon. I'm taking Roxy for her walk. I plop on probably the most perfect EFT practice. And one of the questions was, consider that the person you were 5 years ago could not fathom who you are today. Now, when I think about 5 years ago, it was pre-COVID. I was just leaving a company that I had just built that was basically making my stomach coil in pain. And I decided I was going to go back to corporate. That was my 5 years ago decision, was that I'm going to go back to corporate. And I knew that it was a temporary decision because I wanted to build my own coaching company. I wanted to really be seen in my own brand. And I was willing to have that be a part-time gig if that meant that I could have some sort of security and stability on my nervous system with regards to money, which it was for 8 months. 5 years ago, Steph had no idea that, one, COVID was going to happen, but she also had no idea that she would be living in Montreal in 5 years. That was like not a reality that was ever going to happen. Given that this challenge is, who am I going to become in 100 days? If I put attention on my business, if I put attention on my wellness, if I put just attention on the things that matter to me every day, how will life change? And you already know that, like, I could do nothing and there will still be changes. But the reason why we're doing this with some deliberacy is because we don't want to live the same day every day for 75 years and call that a life. But anyways, back to the CFT practice. Here I am tapping, and one of the questions that she said, she's like, who am I going to say fuck off to? And it just like revolutionized my brain a little bit, because that is a part of changing, right? All of a sudden you have new boundaries. All of a sudden you have new standards. All of a sudden you're like, actually, that behavior that I used to tolerate is no longer acceptable. And that's really when you know that you're growing, because when we're like kids, we tolerate certain behaviors because our parents did them. And if we refuted our parents, that was risking our safety, our food, our security, that kind of thing. And so we didn't know that we could say no. And then as we became teenagers, we started to develop some sense of autonomy, not a lot, where we started to learn that we could have this no. But then the next threat of our inclusion and security was social, right? So we didn't want to say no to our friends. That's where we started to fall into peer pressure, because if we started saying no to everything, who knows? We might be outcasted socially, and that is a threat to our nervous system. So we didn't want to lean into the no. But then as we got older, we jumped into our 20s and By the time we were 25, we were so full of confidence that we were willing to say no to things, and we were willing to talk back, and we were willing to say, not for me. And then you hit your Saturn return, as I did. And all of a sudden you're like, oh no, I can't say no to that. I need to believe in other people more than myself. And you're a bit of a nervous wreck. And then you start the whole process over again. And so here I am on this journey of who am I going to become in the next 100 days, doing EFT about, isn't it going to be fun to see who makes it through? Like, who gets to come along the journey with me as I'm growing and evolving, rather than focusing on who am I leaving behind? Because it's usually the focus, right? It's, oh, I can't grow and evolve because I'll leave my family behind, I'll leave my friends behind, blah, 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 blah. But I'm taking it from the lens of, oh, there's going to be some people that I get to say fuck you to because I'm done with tolerating certain behavior. And then there's going to be other people who I would never say that to because they're like, bitch, same. These are just things that I'm thinking about, things that I'm curious about to see what'll change. And it's not lost on me that this has me think about how this last year has been, how already in this year, there have been things that I no longer tolerate. So prior to this 100-day challenge of conscious growth, we could call it, effortless change, there was already new embodiments that I had never practiced before. One of those being the idea that you don't even need to respect my boundaries. You don't have to like my boundaries at all because they exist whether or not you prefer them. And this happened in the beginning of the year where I had someone in my life who was like, hey, listen, I really respect your boundaries and I just want to make sure that we're connected. There was just this reality, like it wouldn't have mattered even if you didn't respect my boundaries because they exist. That's it. I'm a no to XYZ, and there was nothing that you were going to be able to say or do or coerce or convince me to change those. And it wasn't from a sense of righteousness or indignation. It was just like, oh, I'm not doing that. And what's funny, and I should probably do a whole separate YouTube video on this, but this also happened at camp recently. So if you didn't know, I run a mastermind where I include a 4-day, all-inclusive, sleep-away adult summer camp. And this happened because, I have friends from camp, and they were like, oh, Steph, like, how are you going to bed so early? Don't you have FOMO? And I was like, no, I have no FOMO. And they're like, what do you mean? Because you think that I'm going to miss out on what's happening, but really you're missing out on me. And one of the girls turns to me, she's like, I need to adopt that kind of energy. Because when we get into a place of where we don't know our own boundaries to take care of ourselves, because that's what they're for, we'll overstep them and override them, and the only person that hurts is us. So I'm happy to leave events early. I'm happy to go to bed. I'm happy to remove myself from a situation, not because I'm worried about what experiences I'll miss out on, but because I'm committed to the experience that I have of life overall. There is no party that is going to be worth me waking up and not enjoying a sunrise. I know myself. And so these are the things that have already shifted over the years that I'm only now taking stock of. And so part of this experience, this countdown to 32, is also just acknowledging those things. Like, wow, there used to be a past version of me that would stay up until 3 o'clock in the morning just to be a designated driver. Now I'm like, no, I love you, but how dare you think your partying is more important than my rest? I'll pay for your cab if you need to, but I'm not staying up that late. And so that's just such a different version of me that not only 5 years ago me would have been so floored I could do, but me as a teenager, that was never going to happen, I'm traveling to you from day 97 to remind you to join my mailing list through the back door. If you are interested in learning how to backdoor your personal growth through unhinged takes, tales that will help you grow through what the fuck you actually go through rather than creating synthetic experience and journal prompts that you would never come to naturally through the byproduct of your daily existence, join my mailing list. I send out an email every Thursday, or at least I try to, just to keep you on your toes about what's going on in my life, the things that I'm learning, the way that I see the world, but also to invite you into some of my programs that may or may not be around in 97 days. Anyways, see you later.